Good morning, everyone. Well, we all have to deal with winter, don't we? Every single one of us here in Minnesota. That may seem silly to be talking about staying safe in winter to Minnesotans, but as I just noted on a post promoting today's show, Sheriff Troy Dunn, we have a lot of people that are here from Africa and have never experienced a Minnesota winter.
Right. No, it's scary for even those of us that have driven it for, I won't say how many years because I don't want to give my age away, Gordy, but
Well, you're much younger than I know that.
But no, definitely. And then when you have people moving in from out of state and out of other countries, yeah, it's definitely kind of scary. So I'm glad you had us on today. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. Who'd you bring with you?
I got Deputy Paul LaRoche. He just transitioning out of the investigations division back to patrol, so I thought it'd be a good segue for him to talk about safe driving so that people don't have to just listen to my voice all the time.
Right. So, Paul, do you guys go through training? I mean, winter driving training?
No, not necessarily. Just kind of on-the-job training that we've gotten over the years with going to crashes and dealing with it on a daily basis during the wintertime.
You don't have winter driving tips for your deputies?
Well, just like everybody else, we can't, if we're going to emergency calls, we got to slow down if it's slippery roads ourselves, because we're not any good to anybody if we don't get there ourselves.
Yeah, if you get in the ditch, it doesn't help anybody.
Right, not at all. So, yeah, we've been pretty fortunate that we haven't had a lot of oopses with our squads, and I think we drive for a living, and we get we do some training. I mean, depending on when we go to our driving school, like I know the last time I did, they didn't have to put water out on the skid pad because it was icy already, and so it really makes a difference.
I'm going to guess, Paul, that investigations, the hours are a little different than patrol.
Yes, they are. They're Monday through Friday, so I'm going back to weekends and holidays, but that's okay.
Yeah, but investigation, you can get called out anytime too.
Yeah, definitely. We take turns being on call for a week straight, so it's not uncommon that we've gotten called in for stuff. But
whereas if you're on patrol, you pretty much have set hours, right?
Yeah, for the most part. We're still on call too if something big was to happen, but yeah, we have our rotation of days on and days off on patrol.
So you have a couple of driving tips for us on icy roads?
Yeah, when the change in weather starts here with snow flying, I mean, our main concern is that people are watching where we're at on the roads when we're at a crash scene. I would probably list that number one. We ask people to move over if you can, or at least slow down when you're passing us to give us room to work, and that's one less danger we have to worry about if people are making sure they watch out for us.
And that's all the time. I had a good friend of mine whose sister's husband was killed. He was trying to be a good Samaritan, help a young lady change a flat on her tire, and he got killed by a car. 2 little kids. I mean, it was really tough. That was one of the hardest funerals I ever went to.
Yeah, and I'm sure the person that hit him is, affected for the rest of their life.
Of course.
It's not good, and so. You've probably heard me say it 1,000 times, Gordy, but these crashes are preventable a majority of the time. It's going too fast for the conditions. You're distracted, you're impaired, you're tired, whatever it may be. So with the winter weather coming up, people have to be even more conscientious and responsible.
And that happened before cell phones. That happened before the move-over law.
Okay. Yep.
He was, like I say, he was low, changing a tire, and the person who hit him claimed he never saw him there. But you obviously are not paying attention if you don't see somebody changing a tire on the side of the road, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's, I think people, for the most part, have gotten better about that. I see vehicles disabled, and even if there's not anybody in there, and especially on the interstate, you'll see people pull over that extra lane, and we'd love to see people do that all the time if they can. And it just makes it safer for everybody out there. And Paul mentioned emergency vehicles, but remember that includes tow trucks, maintenance vehicles, everybody.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about some winter. Of course, this is Winter Hazard Awareness Week, and that's why we've got the sheriff on today on our AM Minnesota show.
Yeah, when I retire, I'd just like to do something less stressful with less responsibility and just be.
A little bit of pressure from yesterday's lower move in box beat. December lives down $1.25 at
Yeah.
121.22.
I don't know what that would be.
147 lower, 127.07.
What's that?
I don't know what that would be. What would be less?
158.27, and January's 40 lower, 157.45.
Hand out towels at a pool.
And
Retirement resort?
That's something. That's an amazing story.
Hogs are down 90 at 62.27.
A cow. Cool. Can you imagine getting that call? That's John Perkins with our opening market report. Service of your KDHL Agri Boosters. We continue our Winter Hazard Awareness Week show. Sheriff Troy Dunn sent out this news release before this week. Is this yours or is this the state and you just kind of sent it on to us?
No, it's the one that we share. We took a lot of the stuff from the state and we shared. It's similar stuff, but
right.
No, we formatted it.
No, I was just curious.
Okay.
Because you have some interesting items in here that frankly I don't know that I would have thought of. Like having a winter survival kit in your home?
Yeah.
I've never even heard that.
Especially out in the country, a lot of people.
In the car, yes, but I haven't heard the home.
Yeah. It goes without saying, and I've more and more lately we hear about the weather, how it's changing and it's becoming more unpredictable, and I hope we don't have another repeat of the Halloween storm, but something like that where it took days to get to certain places. It changes how we respond in the county. I mean, we have to transition to not only four-wheel drive vehicles, but snowmobiles and ATVs, but with that much snow, sometimes the ATVs don't even do us any good. So it's just a snowmobile to get to you in and out. But you need to make sure your furnace is ready. Make sure you have some candles and some food and water stashed in the house where it's not going to freeze, normally. And then the hand warmers, those kind of things to have around. All of your coats. It's just things that you don't think about. And in town, you're probably okay, but it still doesn't hurt to be prepared for something like that.
Yeah, I had never even thought about. Do you have a winter survival kit in your home, Paul?
I'll be honest with you, Gordy. I don't think I have a designated one, but I have all those items at my house. Yeah, readily available.
Huh. But you suggest putting it in one place.
Yeah. Yep. So it's kind of like in a. When my son was growing up, when we had our tornado drills in the house, we'd go under the stairs, and then we had a little cooler under there, and it had water and candy and granola bars and a candle and a flashlight and a radio, all that stuff. And we practiced that, and we knew it was there. And so I was just down there getting the winter coats out again, and I pop in there and check the flashlight. It's getting kind of dim. It's one of those old cheap ones, but now I can probably upgrade it. And my son's at college now most of the time, so he's not there. But it's kind of funny. I think I had to throw the granola bars away; they're expired. But
well, I'm glad to hear that you practiced it, though.
Well, yeah. It's you have to practice those things, especially with kids, and they do it in school, and the more they practice it, the more it becomes second nature. So
you keep it in your trunk. The winter survival kit?
That's where ours is, yeah. Yep.
Oh, you have them in all the deputies' cars?
No, not in the squad cars. In my wife's car, got a nice little box in the back there, and it's got those items, and then she's got 2 extra blankets and a pair of boots and gloves and hat. And
you guys can radio another guy to come pick you up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's why you don't have them in the squad cars.
Right.
When you joined the force, were there many four-wheel drive vehicles used on the force? I don't remember.
We had at that time we had a 1985 F-150 pickup. It was a V6 engine, and then we had a old Jeep Wagoneer and had the double gumball lights on it, and that thing would go through anything, but you didn't want to go over 65 with it because it was kind of wishy-washy, because it was so old, and we should have kept that for a parade car. But
it's mostly, it was mostly cars back then.
It was, and then, if it was bad, the deputies would double up and ride together in a four-wheel drive car. I can remember 2 shifts where I was actually out on a snowmobile because we had people stranded on the interstate in different places, and it was hard to get around. And so I was on a snowmobile along with another deputy for our shift that night. So.
Oh, you got to ride the snowmobile. How lucky were you?
Yeah. Couldn't carry all my goodies, though.
We end up using that stuff quite often, you know, the ATVs with tracks on them nowadays and snowmobiles, you know, we can pretty much get to wherever we need to go. It's just if people have that kit with them to use in the meantime until we are able to get there, whether there's numerous people needing our help or what, it's gonna help you out if you are stranded somewhere.
Yeah, you want a fully charged cell phone with you, right?
Mm-hmm. And make sure you have a charger with you. And if you're stuck in a ditch and especially say you went off a road with a deep ravine and your car's still running, you want to crack the windows a little bit so you don't get the carbon monoxide poisoning in case the pipe gets plugged with snow and it can't ventilate properly. You want to crack your windows a little bit. And then, you know, mittens are way better than gloves, you know, as far as warmth. That's another thing. So throw mittens in your car. And then those hand warmers work great. And
this is Minnesota. I always have extra jackets in my vehicle.
Yeah, no,
you
that's
just never know.
That's so true, and it's really good to do. And you know, I don't know how many people even have snowmobile suits anymore. Now it's more the bibs and things like that. But that's good to have, and you know, loose layers are better for you. And then just, you know, protect yourself and don't. You know, if you've got a bottle of water in there, just sip it. And you know, if it's been in your trunk and your car's not in the garage, it could be frozen. So then you're going to have to put it somewhere, you know, where it's going to start to melt. And
so, do you advise? I mean, it depends on how much fuel you have, right? Whether or not you keep the car running, or you just intervals run it, or how?
Well, yeah. I mean, unless you really think it's going to be a long time, you can keep it running, but the thing is if you shut it off, is it going to start again? Is there more mechanical problems that, you know, are not seen? But if you think it's going to be a long time and you're down to a quarter tank, then I would recommend the intervals, definitely.
Got some other ideas for us?
Well, yeah, Paul, why don't you talk about you know, how we can get our cars prepared for the road as well, as far as being mechanically ready and the tires.
Yeah, making sure your tire tread is good each year. I know even me personally, I'm in the process of needing to get some new tires for my wife's car here before the snow really starts flying. But your tires are going to be your main thing, and your battery, like Troy mentioned before. Make sure your car be able to start. Maybe also keeping your gas tank above half full. It's always a good habit to keep that full. I know I'm always hounding my wife to keep hers full. If she was to hear me right now, she's probably laughing. But keeping your car ready to go, I guess, get it checked over before the season, and you know, kind of back to keeping your car running. If you are involved in a crash, you know, usually it's the safest place to stay is in your car rather than getting out and wandering up in the roadway. There is a good chance that other motorists coming through may be another hazard for you if you're out wandering around. So staying in your car and getting your cell phone plugged in and calling for help and waiting there till we get there is probably going to be your safest bet.
For some reason, one of the most dangerous spots on I-35 is just outside Faribault here, isn't it? It's slippery always, it seems.
Oh yeah. You're talking by the woods?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, well, you've got that wind block there, and then you come out of the woods, either the north or south side, and then you've got a crosswind. A lot of times it'll glaze over there again. You know, and then if it's a snowfall, a lot of times it might blow off there, but then in the woods where the wind can't get, then it accumulates there. So then you go from maybe dry to slushy, slippery, and then back. And you know, the big thing is to let off the accelerator instead of hammering the brakes, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah, don't even
the pumping the brakes, that's old
anything.
school. You know, with the ABS brakes now, you don't necessarily have to pump them. So
no, but they kind of scare me when they take over, to be honest.
Does it?
Well, doesn't it?
No, I love it. I mean, especially when we go to our driving schools, they have us, you know, at high speeds, and then to maneuver and to be able to actually steer through a curve, which before, if you put your foot to the floor, you could turn your wheels all the way to the left and you're still going to go straight because your wheels are not turning, they're sliding. So at least now, you know, and they teach us, you know, you can go 50% or 75%, and still be able to maneuver through, you know, bad areas.
And
so,
you know, Paul, you've been on calls where it's a four-wheel drive and they think they're pretty much invincible, right?
Those are usually the first ones that end up in the ditch. Yeah, but you're right. It is a weird feeling to feel those ABS brakes kicking in. But the best thing you can do is just keep pressure on the brake pedal and let it work, because that's how it's designed. But it definitely is.
Well, it saved me a
feels
few
like you're
times.
braking something.
I will say that coming to a very slippery intersection a few
Mhm.
times, I thought, oh, I'm not gonna stop, and it stopped me.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's engineering and automobiles has come a long way, that's for sure. And you know, now airbags, we don't see the seriousness of the injuries as much as we used to years ago. And
Oh yeah, it used to be common to have black eyes when you got.
oh yeah, yep. You know, and people that would have the indentation of the steering wheel in their chest because, you know, they would go into it and seatbelt wasn't either on or wasn't working, and yeah, come a long way.
Yeah, side airbags. There's even airbags inside the seat belts now. You know, in the very newer vehicles. So, come a long ways.
Again, Sheriff Troy Dunn is with us, along with Deputy LaRoche. We're talking about Winter Hazard Awareness Week, which is this week. It says here winter's around the corner. It feels like winter right now.
It feels like winter today.
It's
Yeah,
like middle of January, it feels like.
It really does.
yeah.
Very, very cold. But we haven't had a lot of snow yet.
Are we gonna have a white Christmas, Gordy?
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I'm thinking about maybe going to Hawaii over Christmas.
Oh,
Never
good
been
for
to
you.
Hawaii.
I haven't either.
It's on my bucket list.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. We may do it, we may not do it.
Good.
We'll see.
Well, let me know how it goes for you, because it's on my bucket list too. So
Because, well, you know, it'd be nice to get away for a week in the winter.
Sure.
Last year I went to the Holiday Bowl out in
yeah.
San
I
Diego.
was gonna say you're in California,
Yeah,
right?
that was a good time
Yep.
over the holidays. Kind of done that since my mom passed.
Okay.
For the holidays, I kind of get away.
And they're lucky down there; they don't have to deal with the snow like
No.
we do up here. So.
But it was very cold.
Oh, was it?
I mean, for San Diego.
Yeah.
They were telling me I was record cold. Of course, every time the Minnesotan goes somewhere, I was in Florida a couple years ago, it was cold.
Yeah.
It kind of followed. I mean, cold for there. You
Right.
know.
Yeah, I went to San Diego for the first time last year, and they had typhoon. So.
Well, there you go.
So they're like, it's always sunny in San Diego and warm, and now you come and it's windy, and couldn't leave the resort because they said if those palm leaves fall off the tree and hit you, it'll cut you open.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we were
Thank
stuck in
heavens
the
we don't have
resort.
that around here.
Come.
Yeah,
Another reason why we shouldn't live where
Yeah,
it's really
see?
nice.
and
warm.
that's why we're rated what, 5th in the nation, place to retire or something. It was on your newscast the other day, Gordon.
Yeah. And the well, Northfield is named as one of the best places in the country to
Okay.
retire to.
Oh yeah, especially for clergy. There's a lot of clergy that are retired at Northfield.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
There must be a reason for that.
Right?
We already touched on dressing in layers.
Yep.
Says here to dress to suit the weather, which seems like a common sense thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I see lots of kids with shorts in the winter.
I
When
know.
It's like, 10 below and they're wearing shorts.
Yeah.
My folks would have never allowed that.
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm serious.
Did you wear shorts to school in the winter
Definitely
time?
not. I didn't wear shorts. I think after September 1st, my mom was so strict about it.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't do it now either, right? I mean, it doesn't seem
No.
like common
Yeah.
sense not
Right,
to wear shorts when
right.
it's 10
Yeah.
below.
Yep. You'd think so, but I mean, just think if they get into a wreck and then they have to stand out in the cold, they're gonna have frostbite on their
Right.
legs. And,
Which reminds me, I reminded myself of this with that comment. I was driving around the community here last week. It was cold.
okay.
Kids were out doing the school patrol thing. None of them had gloves or mittens on.
Really?
They were all trying to pull their hands into
Oh,
their
sure.
sleeves
Into
and
the
stuff.
sleeves. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, with the hustle and bustle of having to get somewhere, it's good to just take a second and think, I got enough on if I end up getting stuck outside for a little while. And, grabbing that hat and those mittens before you take off.
Yep. It's another good thing is to have a scarf in there and boots. I don't like to drive with insulated boots on if I know I'm going to be driving for a while, but I still throw them in the car just in case, because if you got to walk for any kind of distance and you don't have insulated shoes on or waterproof, they're going to get chilly in a big hurry. So the flashlights again are a good thing to have. You can buy those plastic, they're like glow sticks, Gordy. Those are another good thing to have. You crack them, they're good for like 4 hours. They give you a light. So if you're walking somewhere, you can hold that in your hand and make you a little more visible, because it tends to be more of our winter clothing is black or dark. And then if you're walking out on the roads and it's poor visibility already, you want something to help where people can see you.
It says here to watch for signs of hypothermia and frostbite, especially in the very young and the elderly.
Right. Especially because they're not familiar with it, and you might not have the same feeling, especially if you're an elderly person, and it can come on you so quick. So that's where a scarf would be great to have. Watch the kids, look for that discoloration and the shininess on the skin, and then you don't just throw a hot pack on it. You just want to warm that up, and hopefully it's not too bad, because it's very painful and it can leave some scarring if you get it bad enough. So and we talk about safe driving and not driving while impaired, but those people that choose to drink and then walk home in the wintertime, I mean, it happens at college towns, it happens here in our communities as well, where people wander off and they're not dressed appropriately, and then they start taking clothing off, because that's another sign that there's severe hypothermia. They start to get warm, so they don't think they need the clothing, and then that just sets you up worse, and then they end up dying of hypothermia and
so
exposure.
The body thinks.
Once you're in severe hypothermia, your body you feel hot, so you start shedding layers, and obviously that'll make things worse for you too.
Yeah.
We had that with a lady many years ago up by Lonsdale, and as we're looking for her, we found a jacket and we found her robe, and then she was just in her nightgown. Yeah. And very. I couldn't imagine that, and what it's like to do that or drown even. So I suppose
things happen so fast. So
yeah.
Just making sure someone knows where you're at all times, even if you are going to be walking outside. At least let someone know where you're heading, or let a friend know.
With cell phones today, that's a lot easier than it was when we were younger.
Yeah, and keep those cell phones in your pocket as much as you can, though, because they're in the cold weather. They can be affected too, and it'll cut your battery life down significantly when it gets cold. Paul, I was just thinking, should probably mention a little thing just in case somebody crashes through the ice, and how they
that's right,
to get out of the car and keep the windows open.
Keep your windows cracked. I even keep a set of ice picks in my car or my truck that you can swing around your neck if you are out on the ice, or if you do fall through while walking or in your vehicle and you get out of your vehicle, those picks will help you kind of climb up onto the ice and get out of the water at least. Then getting somewhere warm fast and getting those wet clothes off you and warming up slowly.
As cold as it's been, as early as it is, I think we're going to get some good ice this year.
Yeah.
If there is such a thing.
Exactly, right. No, this is definitely good ice making weather, but now it's going to be in the 40s and maybe 50 next week, so that'll probably deteriorate it a little bit. But yeah, from time to time we'll get people to crash into a pond or something like that, or even a lake or river, and the sooner you get yourself out of there, the better, because the longer you're in that cold water, your fine motor skills quit working, and then it's just gross motor skills the longer you're in there. So you need to get out of there, fight for your life to get out of there as quickly as you can, and then crawl yourself back to shore, or and then get help right away. Keep those clothes on when you're out in the elements, but then get into a place out of the weather and then get that off of you and get help.
And wouldn't you suggest always have somebody with you when you head out onto the ice?
Oh,
don't ever go out by yourself.
In a perfect world, yeah, but we know that doesn't. We see a lot of fishermen out there by themselves, and they'll be out in their fish houses sometimes for hours. And again, for your fish houses, put your carbon monoxide detectors in those fish houses. We don't want an accident there with that. So many things we could talk.
lot
We
of
could
them,
make this
yeah.
a 2-hour show, Gordy.
Well.
Good thing we only have a half hour though.
Yeah, it is. Again, Deputy LaRoche and Sheriff Dunn are with us on AM Minnesota today as we talk about Winter Hazard Awareness Week. People should have had their furnaces checked by now.
Definitely. I hope they did.
Because that's another thing that, well, believe me, they're all going yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, with the winds that have been going, yeah, I mean, you can feel it come through.
Used to be I wouldn't fire up my furnace until November 1st.
Yeah?
Every year, but the last few years I've been kind of wimpy about that.
Okay.
I gave in.
Nothing wrong with that.
Turned on the furnace instead of putting more clothes on.
You deserved it.
You know, that's just the way it is. Well, I thought maybe we had a text question.
I did too.
But it's not. It's my bill.
Oh.
My cell phone bill. Boom. Thanks for your payment. Yes. Well, I'm glad it went through.
Yeah.
Because now I still have a cell phone. So I don't see any other ideas in your news release that we did not touch on.
Maybe be careful with those electric heaters in your house or
yes,
shop.
it's a good idea.
Storing anything flammable nearby those, or even if you have a wood stove, you know, those embers when you're opening it up to put more wood in.
They say not to leave them on overnight.
The heaters you probably shouldn't, but we know that people do because they don't want their pipes to freeze or whatever else, and unfortunately that's when we see fires and, you know, incidents happening. So
I know it's being redundant, and virtually every time you come on this program we probably talk about this, but stay off your cell phones when you're driving, right?
yeah, that's I would recommend that because there's so many hazards out there right now. The deer are running around like crazy, so keep your eyes peeled. You don't know what somebody else is going to do or when somebody else is going to veer over, especially if it's a semi. You know, you don't want to tangle up with a semi, and so yeah, focus your attention to your driving and limit your distractions as much as possible.
Keep the
So
eyes
that's a
on the
good
road.
example too for everyone in your vehicle with the younger generation coming up. I think some of them are actually better than some of the adults with making sure they put the phone down. So that's an example for anyone in your car, just to pay attention to what you're doing.
I can't even imagine being able to text while you drive, but I see it all the time.
Oh, yeah. Especially in my car, it's unmarked, so I obviously see it even more than probably Paul does with a marked car.
Sure.
But, so.
And you just can't pull everybody over, right?
Nope. No, I mean, if we're going to another call or, you know, have to be on the radio at 9:30, you can't stop every car. So.
Yeah, the phones are just such a huge part of everyone's life, and but I mean, breaking the habit of wanting to use it in the car is what everyone needs.
Well,
to
a lot
do.
of people do it at stop lights. I've noticed. You know, the light will
Yep.
turn green, and you know they're on their phone.
Yeah.
Stop lights or stop signs even. So.
Yes.
The law reads if you're any part of traffic, you still can't be on it. So even
All right.
Hey Gordy, before you say goodbye, I just want to give a shout out to all of our veterans. Happy Veterans Day today and tomorrow, and thank you for your service.
You bet. You're in tune to KDHL AM, Faribault, Minnesota.